Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling something that literally affects almost every single property owner out there. Yet somehow, the nuances are still completely misunderstood by so many of us. We're going to break down exactly what homeowners insurance covers, what it definitely doesn't cover, and the incredibly costly mistakes that catch people totally off guard. So, let's jump right in. Picture this. You're fast asleep, right? And suddenly, bam, a massive tree crashes straight through your roof. Or maybe you wake up to find a pipe has burst and your entire living room is basically a swimming pool. Would your homeowner's insurance actually pay for all that? Most people confidently think, oh yeah, I know exactly what my policy covers. But the reality? Millions of homeowners are absolutely shocked when disaster strikes, they go to file that claim, and they find out the answer is very, very different from what they expected. Let's start with Section 1, the homeowner's insurance trap. Because look, at its core, homeowners insurance really protects two main assets: the physical structure of your house itself and your personal belongings inside of it. But for a lot of us, having this insurance isn't just a, good idea. It's a strict, non-negotiable requirement from the bank lending you the money for the home. The absolutely crucial thing to remember here is that coverage heavily varies by policy. There is literally no such thing as a one-size-fits-all insurance plan, which is exactly why understanding the specific pillars of your coverage is so essential. Moving right along to Section 2, what your policy actually covers. All right, pillar number 1 is damage to your home. This is the biggie that most people think of. This covers sudden catastrophic events. We're talking about massive fire damage, a sudden lightning strike out of nowhere, roof damage from windstorms or heavy hail, and yes, even those falling trees we talked about just a minute ago. If one of these specific covered events wrecks the physical structure of your home, your policy is there to step in. It might pay for the massive cost of repairs, or honestly, even completely rebuilding the structure if it comes to that. Then we have Pillar 2, personal property. Because insurance doesn't just stop at the walls and the roof. It actually covers the stuff that makes your house a home. This includes your furniture, your electronics, clothing, appliances, the whole shebang. Imagine coming home to find a burglar has broken in. They've stolen your laptop, your brand new TV, your jewelry. It's a completely violating experience. But, subject to your policy's limits and deductibles, your homeowner's insurance is designed to help you replace those stolen items, so you aren't just starting over from scratch. Now, Pillar 3 is one that honestly gets overlooked all the time: liability protection. This is what covers medical bills, legal expenses, and gives you lawsuit protection. Just think about a winter scenario where you have a guest over. They're walking up to your front door, they slip on an icy walkway, and they suffer a really serious injury. Suddenly, you could be held legally responsible for their medical bills. Liability protection steps in right here. It is without a doubt one of the most incredibly valuable parts of the entire policy, simply because a single lawsuit can be totally devastating financially. And then there's our fourth and final pillar: additional living expenses. Basically, what happens if a huge fire makes your home utterly unlivable? You can't sleep there, you certainly can't cook there. Well, while the home is being repaired or rebuilt, this coverage actually helps pay for your temporary housing, like an extended hotel stay, plus meals and other necessary daily expenses. It makes sure your family has a roof over their heads while your actual roof is getting fixed. Which brings us to Section 3, costly myths and claim denials. Okay, one of the absolutely most dangerous myths out there is that flood damage is just automatically covered. Well, reality check. Standard policies explicitly exclude it. Imagine a homeowner who deals with a massive basement flood after a few days of insanely heavy rain. They're wading through the water, staring at ruined drywall and soaked furniture, just assuming insurance will take care of it all. They call their agent to file a claim, only to discover it is nowhere to be found in their standard policy. The financial hit from this single, very common misunderstanding, it can be absolutely ruinous. And it's a very similar story with earthquakes. The myths? Covered. The reality? Earthquakes require separate coverage entirely. They're a major natural disaster that is shockingly excluded from standard, run-of-the-mill policies. If you live anywhere near a fault line and you only have standard homeowners insurance, your home structure is totally vulnerable if the ground starts shaking. Here's another one to watch out for. It's so vital to understand the difference between an accident and a maintenance obligation. A standard policy is not a home warranty covering normal wear and tear. The reality is that insurance is there for sudden accidental losses. It is not a piggy bank to fund your neglected home maintenance. If your roof is 25 years old and slowly starts leaking because the shingles are rotting away, well, that's a maintenance issue. And your insurance company, they will likely deny that claim without even blinking. Now, what about the things you treasure most? The myth is that all your valuables are fully covered. But the reality is that expensive jewelry, high-end collectibles, luxury items, they have very strict, specific coverage limits built into a standard policy. And this catches homeowners off guard all the time. You might have $50,000 in overall personal property coverage, sure, but your policy might explicitly cap jewelry theft at just $1,000. So if a thief takes a $5,000 engagement ring, your standard policy is going to leave you pretty devastated. So bringing this all together, while sudden perils like fire or a windstorm are covered, the really common denials usually stem from neglect. Molds creeping in from a slow leak you ignored, pest damage like termites literally eating your foundation, or just a general failure to maintain the property, these are rarely covered because insurance expects you to handle routine maintenance. If a huge problem blows up because you failed to fix a slow leak early on, resulting in massive mold, yeah, that claim is going to be denied.
Let's talk solutions in Section 4. 5 tips for total protection.
So, what can we actually do about all this? Here are 5 critical steps every single homeowner must take. First, review your policy every single year. Your life changes, your home's value goes up, your policy needs to keep pace. Second, really understand your deductible. That's the chunk of cash you pay out of pocket before insurance even kicks in. Make sure you actually have that amount sitting in an emergency fund. Third, document your belongings. Seriously, take your phone, walk through your house, and take a video today. So if a fire does happen, you can prove what you actually owned. Fourth, ask your agent point blank about exclusions. Find out exactly what they will not pay for. And fifth, if you're at risk, seriously consider buying that separate flood or earthquake coverage to close those dangerous gaps once and for all. I really want to highlight this quote from our source material today because it just hits the nail on the head. Homeowners insurance can be one of the most valuable financial protections you'll ever own, but only if you understand what it actually covers. This perfectly captures the whole shebang. It is an amazing safety net, but a safety net full of holes is totally useless unless you know exactly where those holes are and how to patch them up. So that leaves us with one final, very important question for you. Have you checked your policy for expensive gaps today? I strongly encourage you to take just 5 minutes after this explainer to pull up your policy documents. You might spot a massive gap before it turns into an incredibly expensive surprise. And hey, before we wrap up, I'd love to hear from you. Jump into the comments section below and let me know what is the single biggest insurance myth you've ever heard. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I absolutely cannot wait to dive into our next topic with you.